There's a really big shift that's taking place right now, guys, and a lot of people are going to get probably going to get destroyed on this one. And you know, we're seeing an overwhelming increase in the number of people who are living paycheck to paycheck, people who don't have an extra $1,000 in their savings account, people who cannot save an extra $5,000 in a bank account just in case. And I mean, we're even seeing people who are making, and you know, so imagine you only make $50,000 a year, $60,000, $70,000 a year. That's one thing, right? But then you also got family, you got people who are making $100,000 a year. Now, there was a time when, you know, making six figures, $10,000. Well, I mean, if you're making $100,000 a year, that's about $8,300 a month. So, but there was a time when making $100,000 a year was that was the kind of income that you would only make if you were like a doctor or a lawyer or something like that, right? But now here in America, you got Americans that are making well over $100,000 a year. And get this, guys, they're living paycheck to paycheck. Now, this has a lot to do with the fact that our cost of living has gone through the roof over the last 4 years. And this has actually built a tremendous amount of wealth for a lot of individuals. Landlords had it rough during the pandemic, you know, where people didn't necessarily have to pay their rent back then. But it looks like, you know, a tremendous amount of wealth has been built from that time going forward, especially when you look at the exploding real estate values, right? Housing prices have gone through the roof. Rent prices have gone through the roof as well. The simple fact of the matter is that a lot of people have literally watched this housing market go right past them, and now they're kind of in this chasm where basically they're trying to get to the other side, but they can't because rent is so high that they're having a hard time saving. And then on top of that, it's like, you know, housing prices have gone up dramatically. Interest rates are still higher than they used to be, like dramatically, like roughly 2 to 3 times, depending upon what your credit rating is. If you got bad credit, forget it. No, let me take that back. If you got bad credit, don't forget it. If you have bad credit, you need to do what needs to be done to get your credit score higher, period and point blank, right? We're moving closer and closer toward a society where your credit score is going to literally dictate your quality of life. And I'm gonna get into that more in a future video, but if you need help getting your credit right, definitely hit me up. I went from, you know, a credit score in the 6s to, you know, every now and then I hit 850 credit score, because it never really stays at 850. Like if I do something, you know, maybe increase a credit card limit, or, you know, if I refinance a house, then obviously your credit score is not going to stay a static number. But I mean, you know, I'm generally going to be I'm generally over 800 credit score on a regular basis. But guys, the number of Americans that are making more than $100,000 a year per paycheck, excuse me, the number of Americans making over $100,000 a year living paycheck to paycheck is exploding. And it seems like, you know, for some people, it seems like your paycheck disappears as quickly as it hits your bank account. And if this sounds familiar, definitely let me know if you vibe with that situation. More than 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, according to Lending Club. Now, this report actually came out going into the end of 2023. This was actually before Halloween, before Thanksgiving, before Christmas, and before New Year's, going into 2024. So what this means very likely is that people are probably even worse off, because a lot of times people don't know how to say no. In fact, the 2-letter word no, I actually learned this from a millionaire years ago. He's actually a mentor of mine, wealthy individual who shared some insightful information with me. And he actually taught me that the word no has made him more money than any other word in the English language. Why? Because most people don't realize that saying no will save you a tremendous amount of time. A lot of people don't have time to, a lot of people should not be making time to socialize in excess with friends when they're drowning in debt when their income is low, right? No will free up your time to be able to study, improve your skills, increase your skills, to learn high value skills that pay you a tremendous amount of money. But you wouldn't be able to learn those skills if you're constantly hanging out, going to the malls, you know, doing these different types of activities that are not very productive, and they're not increasing your net worth. They're not increasing your skill set. So, you know, by saying no, also saving no will save you a tremendous amount of money. Generally speaking, if you're not making money, you're losing money, right? Even if you're just sitting around doing nothing, you're losing money because you got expenses that are constantly coming up. So if you don't, Warren Buffett said this brilliantly, if you don't figure out a way to make money while you sleep, you're going to work until you die. And that couldn't be any more true than, you know, no truer words have ever been spoken. So it says here, more than half of Americans earning over $100,000 a year living paycheck to paycheck. So let me ask you, are you making $100,000 a year? And if you're not making at least $100,000 a year, what's your plan to be able to do so? Because I think that we're moving toward a society where if you don't make at least $100,000 a year, you and your family are just not going to make it. And I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but I think that that is the harsh reality. If you look at the cost of living, everything today will be more expensive next year. Everything next year will be more expensive the year after that. And if you don't believe me, just sit around and wait and become a victim. But many experts are pointing to this phenomenon called lifestyle inflation as one of the culprits for why people who are earning over $100,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. And the simple fact of the matter is that right now, if you make $100,000 a year, depending upon where you live, if you live in New York, New York City, Miami, Florida, you know, California, there's parts of Nevada, you know, near the Las Vegas Strip, like Chicago, Illinois, like there's parts of the country that are very expensive. Don't get me wrong. If you live in San Francisco, San Diego, basically almost anywhere in California, 100 grand a year is very, very lower middle class. So in those areas, you're barely going to be able to get by. However, in most parts of the country, you know, if you live in Georgia, Alabama, Texas, North or South Carolina, you know, as long as you're not in any of those states that I mentioned that are very expensive, chances are 100 grand will go a long way so long as you have a plan for your money. Number one, make sure you have a budget. Number two, make sure you always spend less than you make. Look, like the reason why businesses make money is because their expenses are less than their revenues. And that difference is called the profit, right? The same thing works for personal finance. If your expenses exceed your income, then you're going to be in debt. If your expenses are less than your income, then you will build wealth over time. The concept is that simple, but executing on that every single day is where the difficulty comes. And generally the reason being is people don't realize what's happening around them, and people don't realize the daily traps that they walk into every single day that are keeping them broke. And until you identify these traps and develop a clear plan and path to avoid these traps, you'll never build wealth, and you'll always be broke living paycheck to paycheck. You could be making $500,000 a year. So I think that, you know, people are going to have to seriously wake up, because the next several months going into this next year, there's going to be, again, this wealth transfer is taking place. And if you're on the wrong side of the equation, wealth will be transferred from you into someone else's pockets. Now, if you're on the right side of the equation, wealth will be transferred into your pockets. It's all, life is a chess game. It's a game of strategy. So you got to make sure you have a strategy going forward. It says here that the idea that people save and they just hit a point where they feel like they deserve to spend more money. That is some people. Some people save a little bit of money, they make a little progress financially, and then they're like, oh, I need to celebrate, I need to congratulate myself. And then you set yourself back to where you were, or even worse. Some of the things, you know, sometimes if you're not smart, having good credit could actually be harmful to you. But again, it's all about understanding how to use credit, how to use debt as leverage to acquire assets that pay you. And a lot of people are using debt to acquire goods that don't pay them. They're acquiring liabilities and they're using debt to get it. And then they're making monthly payments and paying interest on top of it. I mean, people are literally destroying themselves and they don't even realize it. It's horrible. But yeah, 2024 just started. And if you're going to make a change, now is the time. It is not too late. But I think that, you know, the longer that people wait, the more that people are going to feel like, oh man, there's no turning back from this thing. So anyway, I hope you guys are ready for what's coming. I hope you guys are paying attention. Let me know what your plans are to build wealth, to get out of debt this year, to no longer live paycheck to paycheck. If you guys appreciate the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'm gonna catch you guys on the next one. Take care.